All right, man. So up next, this is a question that came in from United Bates. He said, would be interesting to hear everyone's thoughts. Coach talk, starting with the big man, Matt LaFleur. Just off the top of your head, eye test top question. What is your biggest critique of Matt LaFleur currently? I keep coming back to the game planning / having the team fired up and ready to go. Ready to go. I'm not sure why.
Get ready to go.
I just feel like other teams show up a little more motivated. AI breaks down some of the other things like play calling, in-game adjustments, etc. But if Matt LaFleur could get better in whatever aspect, what would it be in your opinion? That's a great question, Bates. Great question. So I did a deep dive with the AI to say, hey, like what are the strengths and weaknesses of Matt LaFleur? And before we get into that, let's give our honest opinion of it. And Tim, I'll let you go first so I don't steal any of your thunder, okay? What's maybe if you had, and I know you like Matt LaFleur just like I do.
Yeah.
What's your biggest critique of Matt LaFleur? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think, he could be better at that? Does anything come to mind? And it's hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for you because I'm not a football coach. I've never been a football coach. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, let me tell you what these guys need to do here. It's just, but what comes to the forefront of your mind there when you think about that question?
I know it's not a technical term, but too damn cute in the red zone. Does that count?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Little too many moving pieces, little too much flash and flare for my liking. We got Josh Jacobs, hand the ball off, block your ass off, get a touchdown. I'm over the jet sweep, triple fake reverse lateral, throw it to the flat, receiver option, whatever. Like, let's just stop getting cute in the red zone. That would be the first thing I think I would think of.
It looks like everybody agrees. J. Cole says play calling on 3rd and 1.
Yep.
Coach Lynn says bingo. United Bates, that's a solid one, Tim. Absolutely, man. H.E. Solder says challenge flag. Never let Matt LaFleur have the challenge flag. And mine is going to be a little bit deep of an answer, I believe. It's going to be kind of multifaceted. But the thing that comes to mind for me is emotion. He lets his emotion get the better of him. And I'm not talking about like I don't want a coach to show emotion. But when you get into those situations where the game is on the line and you need a level head, you need to think about everything you prepared all week long.
Yep.
You need to remove the emotion from the play call. You need to remove the emotion from the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 or whether to kick an extra point or not. And I think that's one of his weaknesses is he allows the emotion to get a hold of him. Now, that same emotion you can tell is rooted in his love for the game, his love for game plan, and his love for his team. And that's what makes him one hell of a coach. I don't think people realize how good we've got it with Matt LaFleur. So every coach is not going to be perfect. But the emotional aspect is what kind of gets me. And listen, I'm comparing Matt LaFleur to the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick. But if you'll go back and watch Bill Belichick, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, if you go back and watch Bill Belichick on that interception that Russell Wilson threw in the end zone in the Super Bowl that sealed it for New England, they were scrambling on the sidelines, right? And the coaches were in the headsets. If you go listen to the NFL Films version, the coaches were going, "Hey, Bill, what do you want to do here? What do you want to do here? You want to go goal line? Like, what do you want to do here?" And he said it was dead silence, and he went, "Yeah, I got it. Like, we're good. Chill." Yep. Right? And when you hear Belichick talk about it, he said, I'm looking to their sideline and they're scrambling and trying to – he said they did not look comfortable with what they were trying to put in place. So I'm like, I'm not going to bail them out here. You know how many coaches would be like, emotional. Let me think about this. Let me time out.
Right. And then
you're prepared. You're prepared. I think about his time back with Bill Parcells when he said when Coach Belichick said, people thought that Parcells gave him too many tongue lashings. Like they were, like, man, he's really, really disrespectful to you on the sideline. He said, listen, when you're in the heat of the battle, you give an order and you take an order. There's no time to argue about it or get your feelings hurt. We're trying to win a damn football game, right? So that's the one aspect. And when I say it's multifaceted, Tim, what I mean by that is he needs a coach. Coach LaFleur needs a coach. Bill Parcells had a coach in Mickey Corcoran, right, who actually, played basketball for Vince Lombardi in high school. Voice is going here. So Bill Parcells had Mickey Corcoran. Bill Belichick had Ernie, I think his name was Ernie Adams, right? they have these coaches behind the scenes that are coaching them on how to coach. And it just feels like, who's that for Matt LaFleur? Who would you think it is, right?
I think the plan is Coach B, right? Right now. I think
that's that's definitely his right-hand man, right? But in terms of like for example, Parcells' right-hand man was Bill Belichick throughout his whole career. He took Belichick everywhere he went, right? And we soon found out after that, like, well, maybe Belichick was the secret to that whole, what I mean? But not taking anything away from the Big Tuna. The Big Tuna was, hell of a coach. So the thing that comes to mind is like, who's his mentor? His mentor is Sean McVay. Well, Sean McVay is also an opponent. Yeah. Like, that's not his coach. So I would like to see him get someone in-house, a senior advisor type role, to help kind of coach him along his go, because he's already crushing it. If you had someone that's been around the game for a long time, and listen, I know Mike Shanahan ain't going to come in and do it and help him win games against his son Kyle, but whoever it might be Kubiak, the old man Kubiak that actually gave LaFleur and all those guys a job. I think in Houston. I think I'm getting that right. It was Kubiak.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak. I remember.
Yeah. Maybe somebody like that. Just go to Mark Murphy and now Ed Policy and just say, hey, listen, we need this dude on the payroll, and get him in house and just have him on the sidelines, have him in the box every game, just kind of overseeing everything. And
like we did last season with Bob Saleh, and kind of brought him in as a advisory kind of role, right?
Yep. H.E. Solder says, isn't that mentor Bisaccia? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Bisaccia is his assistant head coach. Bisaccia has only been an interim head coach. Like, you can't be coached by someone who hasn't done it at least the level you've done it or higher, or else you're just, you're banging your head against the wall. Why was Mickey Corcoran so vital to Bill Parcells is because that was his high school coach. So he got to see Bill Parcells kind of come up the ranks as a basketball player and then a young football coach, and he brung him along everywhere with him, every step he went. Every step of the way, every coaching stop. So he had that respect for him up here, right? Rich Bisaccia is more of a, like, when Tim brought it up, it's like that's your right-hand man.
Right. That's not your mentor. That's your ace, not your mentor. Yeah.
And this I've thought about too over this. Bring in McCarthy as a mentor. People will laugh at that, right? But McCarthy's won a damn Super Bowl. And I just crack up at how many people slander Mike McCarthy. Now, would he mentor Matt LaFleur? Absolutely not. Matt LaFleur took his job. That's not good.
Sit your butt outside.
That's what Mike McCarthy would say to Matt LaFleur, probably. But again, it's not as easy as just, let me go call somebody up and get them in here to coach me. But I just feel like that's what's missing. That's what's missing a little bit. So anyway, let's get into the article that we had put together earlier. And this is AI basically pulling information from all over the internet and saying, all right, here are the strengths and weaknesses of Matt LaFleur. I'll try to keep my voice together here as we go along, but it is going quick. I know too much sawdust in the lungs today after using a chainsaw all day, Tim, is what this is.
Redneck therapy. I love it, man.
Redneck, I don't know what you would call that, wood lung, I guess. But here we go. Matt LaFleur has been the head coach of the Green Bay Packers since 2019, and over his tenure, he's shown a mix of impressive strengths and some notable weaknesses. Let's break it down based on his track record and what's been observed through his time in Green Bay. All right, first thing, it says offensive mind and play design. LaFleur's roots in the Shanahan-Kubiak coaching tree shine through in his ability to craft a creative and effective offense. He's got a knack for designing plays that maximize. I'm trying to go back and forth from screen to screen here. Where am I at here? I already lost my spot here.
Maximize quarterback efficiency and lean on a balanced attack right there.
Yeah. His first 3 seasons. Could you do me a favor, Tim, and pull that QR code down for me? That's what's messing me up there.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. We'll put it back up here in a minute. All right, his balanced attack. His first 3 seasons with Aaron Rodgers saw the Packers rank among the NFL's top offenses, averaging 13 wins per year from 2019 through 2021. He's particularly adept at using motion and misdirection to confuse defenses, which has kept Green Bay competitive even as the roster evolved. All right. Goes on to say winning record and consistency. The guy's a winner, plain and simple. LaFleur's 67-33 regular season record through 6 seasons gives him a 670 winning percentage, one of the best among active coaches. He's led the Packers to the playoffs in 5 of his 6 years, including 3 straight NFC North titles from 2019 to 2021. That kind of consistency is rare, especially with a franchise transitioning from a Hall of Fame quarterback in Rodgers to a younger, less proven one in Jordan Love. And if you look here where he ranks all time, guys, winning percentage, he is 13th all time with a 670 winning percentage. These are the coaches that he's ahead of, okay? Let's just go down the list here real quick. Tony Dungy, Hall of Famer, right? The crosses mean they're Hall of Famers. Andy Reid, first ballot Hall of Famer, right? George Seifert, Bill Belichick, first ballot. He's got a higher winning percentage than Bill freaking Belichick through 6 seasons. Okay. Patty Driscoll. That just sounds like the coolest name ever. Look at that. Curly Lambeau. That sound familiar?
Here's a guy.
Mike Tomlin will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So the dude is literally 13th in winning percentage all time. Okay. Player relationship and leadership. Okay. LaFleur's ability to connect with players is a big asset. He earned Rodgers' trust early on, no small feat, and has since fostered a strong rapport with Jordan Love and the younger core. His, quote, his team-first philosophy and calm demeanor seem to keep the locker room steady, even during tough stretches. Players respect him, which helps maintain morale and buy-in. Now, people hear that, and they immediately think, he's not calm. You seen him on the sideline? It's a good point. But what it's talking about is in the locker room. Think about what happens at the end. How many times have we seen him in a press conference and fans have gotten pissed on Twitter going, here goes LaFleur again saying it's on him, it's on him. He's just constantly belling out Joe Barry. He's belling out his pass rush. He's belling out his quarterback. Like, that's leadership 101.
Yep.
You praise in public and you critique in private. Period, case closed. That's what it means there with player relationships and leadership. All right, adaptability with quarterbacks. He's shown he can adjust his system to fit different styles. With Rodgers, he leaned into a pass-heavy, precision-based attack with the RPOs that we talked about. With Love, especially in 23 and 24, he shifted towards a more balanced approach, emphasizing the run game and play action to ease the young quarterback's transition. The offense didn't collapse post-Rodgers, which speaks to his flexibility. As we talked about, they finished, Tim, 4th in the league in passing in yards per pass attempt last year, which I think is the most important passing statistic outside of, controlling the turnovers, not turning the ball over with the interceptions. And I put that picture in there with Willis because it doesn't even mention Malik Willis. Literally plugged and played Malik Willis on a short week, and we never missed a beat.
Yeah, wasn't that incredible? Can we just take a minute to enjoy that for a second, that Malik Willis was a Packer for all of 10 days or something before he had to go out there and get it done as a starter. And correct me if I'm wrong, he was 2-0 as a starter when we needed him the most. So clearly we have the quarterback whisperer in Matt LaFleur for sure.
Yeah. Chris the Casualian says, I love Matt LaFleur as a head coach, just needs some fine tuning. A GM that seems to work more as a team in talent selection would be a great strategy. See, that's the other thing too. And I'm going to say it again this year, boys. I'm just going to be honest with you. If we go into 2025, week 1, the youngest team in the league again, I'm not going to sit here and go, boys, we're winning the Super Bowl. I hope it happens. It has never happened in the history of the game. Right. And the fact that we keep going out there as the youngest team, and we keep coming up short, it doesn't mean you go sign a bunch of 35-year-olds. But what it means is the only thing you're lacking, most likely, the fact that Matt LaFleur has got this extremely high winning percentage, even with the youngest teams in the league, you add a little veteran leadership, and that might get you over the hump. Now, what are we doing in this offseason? This is where I've got to give Goody credit. You go get Aaron Banks. He's a veteran, still young, but a veteran, going to be 27. You go get Nate Hobbs right around that same age spot, right? So I kind of feel like that's what Goody did this year. Was he kind of leaned in a little bit and said, all right, let's get a couple veterans in here, plug and play. Both of those guys are going to start. I know some fans think they're horrible signings or overpaid, whatever. The reality is they are going to start. Banks is going to start at guard most likely, and Nate Hobbs is going to start at corner. So you literally found 2 starting players.
And McCole Hardman's going to make our wide receiver room extremely competitive. Mm-hmm. Even before talking about who we're drafting, even as it stands right now, bringing a guy like that in, Super Bowl champion, he's gonna bring that intensity, and that the competition in the receiver room is gonna thrive, I believe, going into camp.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be huge, man. And then with this NFL draft, let's see if we can, you know what I mean, maybe get one or two to plug and play, kind of like we did Evan Williams last year. Javon Bullard, I know Javon Bullard was not a good football player at safety last year, but in the slot, I felt like he did hold his own and really helped out in the run game. And that's something that showed up on paper, you know, the fact that the run defense improved so much. You can't just dismiss the fact that you're going to be out there in your nickel 4-2-5 the majority of the time, and then all of a sudden that nickel corner is showing really good run defense. The run defense gets better as a whole. You got to give credit there. Again, coverage wasn't his strong suit, but, you know, we'll see. All right, let's go to the weaknesses now. Let's talk about the bad part. In-game decision-making. Everybody goes, yes. LaFleur's clock management and situational choices have drawn criticism. Take the 2020 NFC Championship game against Tampa Bay. Down 8 late, he opted for a field goal instead of going for it on 4th and goal. A call that's still debated. More recently in 2024, his handling of timeouts in late game situations, like the playoff loss to the Eagles, left fans and analysts scratching their heads. He can get conservative or indecisive when the pressure's on. Playoff struggles. Despite regular season success, LaFleur's 3-5 postseason record is a glaring weakness. The Packers have repeatedly faltered against top teams in big games. Losses to the 49ers twice. The Bucks and Eagles highlight a pattern of coming up short. Some point to his inability to adjust mid-game or out-scheme elite coaches like Kyle Shanahan or Nick Sirianni in the playoffs. Now, I want to push back a little bit on that. Why did we lose to the 49ers? You guys remember? Y'all remember the block punt that was returned for a touchdown in the 4th quarter?
Yep.
We're just going to forget about that. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that go on. And again, why did that happen? We all know we were not putting any emphasis whatsoever on special teams at that moment. Now, we've since taken a different direction. You got the holding situation under control there with our boy Daniel Whalen. Also, he's one of the best punters. I think he's a top 3 punter in the league. That's my opinion. Yep. You go get Brandon McManus now. And listen, we just got McManus halfway through the season, or a quarter of the way through the season last year. So when I look at some of those playoff losses, look at the Eagles game, Tim. What happened in the Eagles game? The opening kickoff. Keyshawn Nixon fumbles the opening kickoff, right? And your back is against the wall the entire game. Hearing Coach Belichick talk about that on the Manning cast, he was like, man, what do you do as a coach when you fumble the opening kickoff?
Well, when we talk about that play, right, we've talked about the helmet-to-helmet, you know, Orenberg's hit on Keyshawn, and, you know, should it or should it not have been flagged, right? Did he, in fact, fumble the ball? Maybe he did, but he certainly recovered it. We all know that. we saw that. But the real question, to your point, Clayton, is who missed the block? Who missed the block on Orenbergs that allowed, you know, our return man to get blown up like that? Right. That's the real question.
And that's where it comes down to execution. And you guys know how I feel about that. I have a hard time believing the coaches didn't work on blocking on kick return. You know, just like I have a hard time believing they haven't coached Keyshawn on don't run into a pile with your head, you know, with your head first there, Bob. By the way, we all know it should have been a penalty, helmet to helmet too, but that's a story for a different day. 2-0 for this says that field goal was the right choice. You know, I think you and I are the only 2 people on the face of the earth that say that 2-0 for this. Look, you kick the field goal, now a touchdown wins you the game, right? If you go for it on 4th down with them pinned kind of deep, with it being 4th and goal, if there's enough time left, I can see the argument on the other side as well. You know what I mean? Like, because you're going to maximize on them being pinned deep, and more things can go wrong than right for an offense when they're just trying to create a little bit of ground to push that thing out of there. Then who knows, maybe you block the punt if they get too conservative there as well. So I agree with that 2-0 for this. I don't think many people do. All right, let's see here. Over-reliance on explosive plays. This is what we're talking about, Tim. How many times do we go, just pick up the first down? Now, you could put this on Jordan Love, not taking the check downs. We showed it on Chalk Talk all year long, right? And LaFleur is going to catch the heat for it because it's just going to kind of – this picture is going to be painted of, no, LaFleur called a shot play. No, there's multiple facets underneath. Ryan Schlipp has done a hell of a job highlighting, like, Jordan's got to get better at checking those down. You ain't got to try to play hero. Remember when it was all Aaron Rodgers' fault playing hero ball? Well, now it's Jordan Love playing hero ball.
Yeah. So there's always going to be a shot play worked into some of those play calls, right?
Absolutely.
You know, so if your quarterback's continuously taking the shot play, that's not necessarily a head coaching thing, right?
Right. Exactly. So his offense thrives on big plays, but when those dry up, it can stall. In 2024, the Packers' late season swoon, scoring just 10 points against Philly in the playoffs, showed how choppy things can get without chunk yardage. He's less effective at grinding out drives with shorter, precise passes, which can leave the team vulnerable against stout defenses. Discipline and detail. The Packers have had stretches of sloppy play, penalties, drops, special teams, disasters that reflect on coaching discipline. The 2022 special teams meltdown against the 49ers in the playoffs is a prime example. Some argue LaFleur's, quote, nice guy approach lets these issues fester, especially compared to more hard-nosed coaches. I think that's a fair argument, but again, what else are you going to do other than tell the PP, listen, bub, don't let that dude hit your punter in the damn mouth.
Yep.
You can't go out there and block for him, you know? So you notice I'm picking some of this stuff apart, and I'm not saying I'm right and the article's wrong, or you guys, if you disagree, you're wrong. I tend to lean toward LaFleur going, what are the players getting paid for? Like, you saying we'd had another 10 reps in practice to help block on personal protection on punts? That wouldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, it's historically accurate to say that general managers who have this West Coast route in them, to where like you're building a West Coast offense as opposed to the Parcells East Coast type of building a roster. Belichick always had top special teams play. Parcells, they believe special teams is so important, right?
Yeah. They'll win you the game or they'll lose you the game, right?
Right. And that's why I feel like Versace's done a good job. And I know the rankings show we're dead last and this and that. I said it when they hired him. I just get rid of the blocks, right? Let's stop getting punts blocked to lose games. Let's make sure somebody can hold for the kick and get us a decent kicker in here. And it took Goody, man. It took Goody about 3 or 4 swings to finally say, all right, we'll bring in Brandon McManus. So I know we had to let that clear, all the personal stuff, off the field stuff, but yeah. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. The overall take, it says LaFleur's strengths lie in the offensive creativity, leadership, and ability to rack up regular season wins. He kept the Packers relevant through a quarterback transition, which is no small feat. But his weakness, shaky in-game decisions, playoff shortcomings, and occasional lapses in team discipline suggest he's still got room to grow, especially in high-stakes moments. With Jordan Love developing a young roster maturing, his ability to address these flaws could determine whether he takes Green Bay back to the Super Bowl or remains a regular season maestro who can't quite close the deal. So again, thank you to United Bates for bringing that up as a topic. I think that's a fascinating, just kind of little case study of, all right, here's where LaFleur is at. I think we've got a top 5 coach in the league. That's my personal opinion, but there's still room to grow in many of those weaknesses, Tim. I really do feel like if he had a mentor, if he had a coach's coach in-house, you would at least get, some 10% better at some of those things. You know what I mean?
I agree. And, he's going into year 7 here as a head coach, like experience has been teaching him along the way. And I think you're right. You add in an elder statesman kind of dude into the fold that can kind of just, be in his ear. And like you said, kind of take him under his wing and give him some guidance. I don't see how that could be a negative at all. Because otherwise we're going to continue to just, go through the process with Matt and live and learn as he does, and experience will be his determining judgment. You think, as many times as he's knocked on the door, NFC championship appearances and, playoff berths or not, but we're bound to get over the hump sooner or later. I just think a lot of us disagree on what the formula might be to get there. But I certainly would agree with your statement that having the youngest team in football year after year after year that's not going to help you at all in that kind of category.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour 2. Let's get it. So we're going to talk Packers minimum athletic threshold for the draft. We're going to hit that in a minute. I want to finish up these questions in here in the chat, in the Patreon chat. And again, this is just one of the perks of being a member on the Patreon group. You can ask questions for the show in here. It works just like a super chat on YouTube, although we greatly appreciate the super chats here on YouTube as well. And hopefully we already missed one. Look at this. Unbelievable. As soon as I went back into the chat, like, crap. This Bates. Thank you so much, Bates. Thanks, Clay,